You're listening to a 3CR podcast recorded in the 3CR Community Radio Studio in Melbourne, Australia. If you like what you hear, please consider donating or subscribing so we can keep bringing you more independent community content. For more information, go to 3cr.org.au.
Slavery is back.
Welcome to a place where private business profit from a captive labour force, yet pennies are spent on medical services to a population in which the Indigenous, the poor and the mentally ill are overrepresented. Where isolation, humiliation and degradation are facts of life. Welcome to prison.
It depends who's telling the story, I suppose. The prisoners would have one view, the people who work in the prison system would have another, and I think it's up to people to decide where the truth is.
Give government propaganda and the media spin doctors the flick. And check out Doin Time for news, views and tunes on prison issues from Guantanamo Bay to Christmas Island to prisons and detention centres everywhere. Every Monday at 4 p.m. on your community radio 3CR.
We are still fired up and we're still talking about revolution.
Hello and welcome to the Doin Time show. This is 3CR Community Radio, 855 AM on the dial, streaming live on www.3cr.org.au. This episode of Doin Time may contain audio images of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who have died and graphic discussion of deaths in custody. This is Marissa and I'll be taking you through until 5 o'clock this evening. Today is a special NAIDOC broadcast and there are quite a range of First Nation guests on the show. Keep the fires burning black, loud and proud is the NAIDOC theme. Having said that though, not all First Nations people believe in NAIDOC, or they believe in NAIDOC but they feel that nothing has changed. So everybody will have differing opinions. NAIDOC Week is held across the country from the 7th to the 14th of July 2024. NAIDOC Week will celebrate and recognise the history, culture and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. The theme honours their enduring strength and vitality of First Nations culture, with fire a symbol of connection to country, to each other and to the rich tapestry of traditions that define Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Joining us in the studio, first of all, is Bo Spearham, podcaster and activist, who will talk to us about NAIDOC Week and other related themes. Bo has been on the Doin Time show quite a few times now, and he talks a lot about his podcast, because he does radio too, and he talks about the Aboriginal massacres and in particular looked at Mile Creek recently. And in fact, he was one of the speakers at the Mile Creek Memorial. After that, we'll bring you an interview with Kieran from the Black People's Union, who will talk about NAIDOC Week as well. Then he will also talk about Palestine and other topics too, solidarity movements that he has been involved with as a First Nations activist. And then we have an interview with Leanne, who is the Senior Cultural and Advisory Advocate from Bendigo, and she'll talk to us about some of the events that's happening at NAIDOC Week. And then Jodie Kolawura Welsh, who is the founder of the Brolga Dance Academy, Redfern, and she'll talk about some of the performances that are happening during NAIDOC Week. I think, though, just to make a bit of a minor correction, that Jodie will be on before Leanne. Anyway, stay tuned and then you'll find out the order. And we're going to be having a quick announcement and then over to Bo.
Beyond the bars for NAIDOC Week 2024. Keep the fire burning, black, loud and proud. At 3CR, NAIDOC Week is a time we dedicate to hearing the voices of some of the most marginalised people in our society, Aboriginal women and men in the prison system. From 11 a.m. each weekday, Monday the 8th of July to Friday the 12th of July, we'll take you inside 6 Victorian prisons: Dame Phyllis Frost, Barwon, Fulham, Loddon, Margate and Port Phillip. Tune into 8:55am, 3CR Digital, streaming online at 3cr.org.au or via Community Radio Plus app. to hear stories, songs, opinions and poems from the men and women inside, connecting with culture and community with Beyond the Bars for NAIDOC Week 2024. 3cr.org.au/Beyond the Bars for all the details.
Can't keep carrying on, the change is coming.
And do listen into some of those broadcasts in prisons, very important. And this is a Doin Time show. And I want to welcome Bo to the program. How's it going, Bo?
Good. Thanks. How you going?
Really lovely to have you. Now, Bo, I know you've just been on pretty recently, and I wanted to thank you for coming back on again to the show.
All good.
I was wondering if you could just tell us what land you're from, first of all, in case we have new listeners that have just tuned in.
Yep, for sure. So, Hayama, both Biram, Gomorrah, Kuma, Marawari. My old man is from Moree and my mum's from Brewarrina. I was born in Darug country in Western Sydney, in Blacktown. Grew up in Mount Druitt and Katoomba and everywhere in between, and then also reside up here in Wellington on Yugara and Turrbal country in the Brisbane area here.
Beautiful. Thanks a lot, Bo. Now, Bo, what do you think about NAIDOC Week? I know, you do a lot of podcasts yourself about all the massacres, and I know we kind of honoured, and talked a lot about that last time you were on the show. Tell us some of your thoughts about what you think, negative or positive, about NAIDOC Week.
Yeah, definitely. There's general perception of NAIDOC, which is, a celebration and a gathering and a coming together of the community, and which it is. It is those things. And, it's sometimes like the first time you see family and friends they haven't seen for a very long time at these events. And they happen simultaneously or, variation over a couple of days. So I think we've got 5 or 6 so far, and still with a bunch more here in sort of the greater Brisbane area as well. At those gatherings, which is a sad part of these gatherings, a lot of multinational companies have stalls, as well as police and military as well, and these are mining companies as well that have stalls at these events to promote their services to the black community, which sucks because they spend a lot of money. They put a lot of money into the events, and that in turn sort of keeps other mob out selling their products and their goods as well. But it's a celebration. It's like I said, a coming together of the community. It has its it definitely has its flaws. I think the flaws in it is how widespread the use of the tokenizing of sort of these corporations coming and exploiting, a day such as that as well. And then also, that sort of amnesia around the history of NAIDOC and just in general Aboriginal history and that as well when it comes to the celebration or the memorial or the memorializing of sort of Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander history and culture in general. And NAIDOC definitely serves as, somewhat people and corporations and communities having this kind of amnesia when it comes to the true history of NAIDOC and its roots, in Aboriginal activism back in the 1930s.
It was different back then to what it is now, isn't it? So, would you say it's tamed down? So the first NAIDOC as well as the first sort of protest against invasion and also one of the first civil rights gatherings in the world happened in 1938 in Sydney, at Town Hall in Sydney.
which happened after a march through Sydney, a silent march, which was organised by, Aboriginal activists from Sydney and from New South Wales and Victoria. And, after that march, there was discussion in regards to how we, shouldn't and don't celebrate, the then 175th anniversary of the arrival of the First Fleet and the policies that, were enacted on Aboriginal people at those times. And, it was really covered in sort of, Aboriginal activism for quite some time. So this gathering went on and continued for quite some time. And then it got changed, like the first, I think it was like the first week of maybe January or another month, I think it was. So, the white fellows can have their Australia Day back. Like there couldn't be any disruption from the local Aboriginal community on that day. So that changed for a while. Then the churches got involved. I think once the churches got involved, there was, they got involved from like the 1950s. Like it was known as the Aborigines Day for quite a while. And then sort of got changed to, NAIDOC, and then in the 80s sort of added the theme of, including our, Torres, brothers and sisters in the theme and the sort of celebratory week. But you look, from the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, like you look at some of the themes around then, they were really on point, really, talking about the issues at hand that we face, whether it was in that time or just in general as Aboriginal Torres Strait people. So the organisers of that, really, were really on the front foot and understood the pulse of the community as well, and where these things come from, where we need to be going in regards to our struggle as well. And which sort of brings us to this year's theme, Keep the Fire Burning.
Oh, you're fading out there a little bit.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
Bo? Yeah, that's better. Yep, go on.
Okay, sorry, yeah. And then which sort of brings us to the theme of this year as well, Keep the Fire Burning. A lot of Bob were sort of upset that the acknowledgement, and not necessarily of us as individuals or as particular groups, but I guess the honouring of sort of the movement, and where that sort of slogan came from as well for us. Keep the Fire Burning. We started using that in 2012 with the embassy here in Musgrave Park, the Brisbane Aboriginal Sovereign Embassy. We created like logos and slogans like back in 2012, and would say that ever since then as well up till today. And just sort of the kind of amnesia that I was talking about before in regards to the forgetting of sort of what happened before and where these sort of things come from as well. A lot of people are upset, and a lot of people are looking to sort of find where it came from, which is cool. And so we've done a bunch of interviews or told a bunch of stories about where we feel Keep the Fire Burning came from as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely it's all of those things in regards to I remember going to NAIDOC celebrations here in Brisbane, and having been sponsored by Santos and Rio Tinto, and huge bloody signs, and that's the part that really sort of irks our community, especially those who are involved in political activism.
It's really disgusting when that happens, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Like recently as well, what we've had up here, at the Marlin, I'm just around the corner from my house here now. The police had the paddy wagon out, and they were giving kids tours of the paddy wagon, and it was at a NAIDOC event, and the majority of kids jumping in the back of that paddy wagon were black kids. They're laughing, and taking photos, and one of the sisters there, Chelsea Watergate, took a photo and really pressed the mob, I think, on the day about what the hell are you doing, chucking black kids in the back of a paddy wagon? This is stupid, and traumatizing, and what are you fucking, getting, sorry, didn't mean to say that, just like a really stupid sort of thing to do. And obviously these coppers, whether or not they cared or not, but,
So basically what you're saying, sorry to interrupt, but basically what you're saying then, Bo, is that, it's good to celebrate NAIDOC Week, but there's also a lot of exploitation and a lot of police presence as well.
Oh, police presence, military presence, exploitation as well. And they're not just from these big mining companies, but these, white sort of saviour sort of companies that think they're actually, that aren't really doing anything to, help or support, the Aboriginal struggle. They're just there to sort of, tick a box and stuff as well, and sort of, mark off their reconciliation action plan and, yeah.
Bo, thank you so much for coming onto the program. I am just really happy to hear your voice and the fact that you've come on to discuss not just NAIDOC Week, but also what happened, some of the negatives that happen. Yes, it is a celebration,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody's different. Everybody has their own spin on it, and what you stated are facts, is the truth, isn't it?
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for the time and let me come on to have this yarn as well and share my thoughts on NAIDOC and what I think, yeah.
And I'd really like to have you back on very soon to talk about some of your podcasts. But now I better go because we've got Kieran coming on soon from Victoria.
Also, shout out to brother Kieran and then also Jody as well.
What's that, sorry?
I say a big shout out to Kieran for what he's doing down that way, and also Jody from Brolga Academy. She's Gumarani, big yarmer to her, and because she works like all my mob as well. So shout out to all them mob.
Oh, that's so cool. A good shout out to them all. That's it.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot, Bo. We'll talk soon.
Yep. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Stand in solidarity with Palestine this Sunday.
Hi, it's Nasser Mashni from Palestine Remembered, Australia's only dedicated show on Palestine. Join me every Saturday morning at 9:30 and very importantly, get along to our rallies. Sunday, 12 o'clock, State Library. Join us.
We have to mobilise to show our support for Palestine. 12 p.m, State Library, this Sunday.
Rally to demand freedom and justice for Palestine. No war on Gaza.
Free Palestine Melbourne is a 3CR supporter.
And you're back with the Doin Time show. It's approximately 4:17. You may notice a little bit of a different format on the show as I'm doing the show from home. I wasn't very well over the weekend and I was just recovering a little bit and thought I'd do it from home. And that was, you heard an interview with Bo Spearham, and he was sharing his thoughts on NAIDOC Week and talking a lot about the history. And he also gave a shout out to Kieran, who's up next, and also to Jody and to Kieran and Jody. Hi, Kieran. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Marissa. How you going?
Good. And you?
Yeah, not too bad. Same old.
Not too bad. Did you hear Bo speaking on the show?
Yeah, I caught the last few minutes of it. And he raised some really good points as well that I was going to touch on as well, just about the presence in our NAIDOC celebrations of these big corporations, of the police, of the military, and of all of these elements that really aren't any sort of ally or supporter of the First Nation struggle.
Tell us more.
I can give you a bit of a history on NAIDOC if you'd like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, since NAIDOC's been around for, I think 7 or so decades now, but it really had its origins back in the 20s and 30s. So back in the 1920s and 30s, First Nations people made the conscious decision to make our protests a bit more mainstream. So up until this point, we had been resisting ever since 1788, but a lot of our resistance, it wasn't really in the forefront of the general public's minds, and it was kind of, I suppose, swept away into back rooms and not really something that was really present or prominent in the public mainstream. So back in the 20s and 30s, as a way to try and counteract this, you had organisations like the Australian Aboriginal Progressive Association and the Australian Aborigines League. They formed back in 24 and 32 respectively. But they really formed to start to coordinate and publicise our struggle and to try and get a bit more mainstream support for our struggles. So this went on for a few years, and then in 1938, we had, of course, the first day of mourning, which was held on the 26th of January, and it was a protest march up in Sydney. Mob come together to protest the colony as well as the colonial impacts on our people, on our communities, on our country, on our culture. And at the end of this big day of mourning march, we actually had one of, not just the first here in Australia, but one of the world's first major civil rights gatherings. So, after they went through a march through Sydney, they all went and met at the, I've forgotten which one off the top of my head. I think it might have been the Greek Cultural Centre. It was a cultural centre up in Sydney. One of the ethnic minorities, offered up the space for black fellas to be able to come together and meet, because we didn't really have a space that could, host thousands of people to have a private congress or convention or anything like that. So, they had this big meeting back in 38. A lot of really powerful and staunch directions come out of that, and a lot of really great ideas come out of that as well. And then we continued to see these day of mourning protests every year after that, up until 1955. So, these day of mourning protests went from 38 right through to 1955. Now, this is when we start to see the rise of NAIDOC. So, in 56, we actually had the proper formation of the National Aborigines Day Observance Committee, it was called at the time. They set up, and when it first set up, it was supported by all levels of government. So you had the federal government, the state governments, and all these local governments all supported this committee being set up, as well as all of these larger mainstream organisations. Now, for some people, this in itself might flag some might raise some red flags, flag some issues. The fact that a colonial government who exploits and oppresses us any other day would agree to set up some sort of observance committee for us. And what also happened here was we saw a shift in the day of mourning's date. So up until this point, we've had the day of mourning on Invasion Day, 26th of January, right? And then when they set up the NAIDOC committee, what they actually did is they moved that day of mourning to the middle of the year in July. Now, this kind of, served two purposes, essentially. First and foremost, up until this point, the day of mourning had been a day of protest and a day of resistance. That's what it had always been about. It had been about us hitting the streets, letting people know that we're still here, we're still fighting, we're still struggling, we still want our independence, we still want our sovereignty, all of that sort of stuff. Now, what they done is they moved this day to July. Now, the reason they did this, it was two reasons, really. It was two birds, one stone for the colonial government. They simultaneously abolished a day of protest and resistance, which was that 26th of January, and at the same time, and, this is in the context that here in Australia, we essentially celebrate settler culture with not just 10 public holidays, but, every single day in this colony is about settlers. This whole colony is set up explicitly to cater to settlers, right? Now, they moved the day of mourning to the middle of the year, and not only did they remove the protest aspect by doing this, but they also concentrated the entire celebration of our people's culture into one day of the year. That's essentially what they've done. They've taken a day of protest and they've completely got rid of the protest angle, and instead they've just turned it into a bunch of stuff that's just about, recognising us and, giving us a bit of representation for our culture and whatever else. Never mind the fact that we are the oldest culture in the world and that our culture should be something that's celebrated every day here in this colony. But yeah, it's really, when you really look at it through this lens and you really sort of look at the inner workings and the behind-the-scene workings that went into the formation of the NAIDOC committee, it kind of, it does make you question a bit, like, is this something that we should really be able to be celebrating? And, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we shouldn't be celebrating our culture. I definitely believe that we should. Our culture is something to be celebrated all of the time. So is our resistance and our struggle. But it does beg the question that, is this really what it's portrayed to be? Especially, as Bo was mentioning as well, when you see so many of the NAIDOC sponsors are the exact same mining corporations that are blowing up our sacred sites and that are, displacing entire communities so that they can get at the natural minerals underneath those communities.
Correct. It's really important to discuss those things rather than just talking about the events, which are important in itself. But essentially, this is really good that you're discussing this.
Yeah, definitely. Because we really need to look at this stuff because there's so much propaganda that is prevalent in our society, and so much of it's so worked into our society that we don't even realise, for the most part, that these things are actually regressive and not progressive. The average person wouldn't think of NAIDOC as having regressive roots. They would think of it as having, progressive roots. Because at face value, that's what it is. But when we actually delve deep into this stuff, we often find that these things aren't progressive in any way at all.
That's exactly right. It's approximately 4:25, and this is the Doin Time show, and you're listening to an interview with Karen from the Black People's Union. And Karen, can we take this opportunity to talk about what land you're on, in case new listeners have just tuned in?
Yep, so I actually live down in Wurundjeri country, down here in the Kulin Nation, or Naarm, or Melbourne, as many people would know it. Although traditionally, my people come from the Waniwandi clan of the Yuin Nation, which is up on what's now known as the south coast of New South Wales, up around the area around Nowra, Shoalhaven, Jervis Bay, if people are familiar with that.
Oh. Look, we've only got a couple of minutes left until Jodie comes on from Redfern to talk about the performances.
Yep.
But just a quick check-in in regards to some of the work you've been doing.
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of work to really try and support other decolonial struggles across the global south at the moment. One of the main campaigns that we've taken on is providing support to Kanaki, or New Caledonia as people may know it, by its colonial name. Part of that support involves, just making people aware of what's actually happening over there. They are one of our closest neighbours in the world. It's about, making people aware of what's happening, the fact that there is this Indigenous resistance happening over there at the moment, as well as trying to provide them with, some resources and supplies to actually help themselves. The way we look at it here in Australia, we are in an imperialist nation, and we benefit, even us blackfellas who are exploited here on this continent, we benefit immensely from the exploitation of the wider global south. So we see it as our role and our duty to repatriate some of that wealth back to the global south so that they actually have the means to be able to liberate themselves. Just on that note as well, we have a protest at the front of the French consulate this Thursday at 3 a.m. It's down on St Kilda Road. If you type in French consulate into your Google Maps, you'll be able to find the address pretty easily. We're also running regular fundraisers each Sunday with the funds going to a whole range of different causes. In the past few weeks, we've provided funds to Gaza, funds to the Democratic Republic of Congo, funds to some First Nations people here on this continent, and we'll also be hosting some for Kanaki in the coming weeks.
Thanks for letting us know that, Kieran. Kieran, it's really important. And of course, there's quite a few inquests happening at the moment for Aboriginal deaths in custody, and we'll be bringing you some of that coverage over the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Good on you, Kieran. Thanks so much. And
no
you
worries.
take
Thanks
care.
for having me. You too. See ya.
Thanks. We'll talk soon.
All right, bye.
We know you love listening to 3CR, but we also know that many of you haven't downloaded the Community Radio Plus app yet.
The app lets you tune in anywhere and share the station with your friends.
So, show the love and share the love and search Community Radio Plus wherever you get your apps.
Are you a 3CR subscriber?
We really need our listeners to subscribe to the station. It helps us remain financially independent and is an important part of our community governance.
It's just $40 concession, $80 waged, $150 for a band or organisation, and $300 solidarity.
Become a 3CR subscriber today.
3CR Radical Radio.
and it's approximately 4:29, and this is the Doin Time show, and we're doing a special program for NAIDOC Week, and I'm really delighted to now introduce Jodie, who is the founder of Brolga Dance Academy Redfern. Hi, Jodie. Welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, you're on speaker, so that's really good that you're speaking up nice and loud. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Now, Jodie, can you just talk about what land you're from and talk about what's happening with the Brolga Dance performances that you're doing for NAIDOC Week? Is that right?
Yeah. So Brolga Dance Academy, we're an Aboriginal dance school, and we're based on Gadigal land in Redfern community, and I'm proud to Millaroy and Murray woman.
Okay.
So I'm originally from northwest New South Wales, but I was born and raised in the Redfern community in Sydney on Gadigal land. And we're just jam-packed during NAIDOC Week, which we're so delighted and excited for. We've got a lot of stuff going on, as you can imagine. NAIDOC Week is such a great time of the year for all our mods to actually get out there, showcase, celebrate, and for all of us to learn and share from each other as well.
Absolutely. So can you tell us more about the Brolga Dance Academy?
Yeah, so Brolga Dance Academy is an Aboriginal dance school, and we specialise in traditional Aboriginal contemporary and Torres Strait Islander dance. Our core focus is for young kids aged 5 to 25 years old, but we do provide services and classes to adults. We also travel regional across regional New South Wales, delivering cultural dance workshops in schools and communities. And we do live performances. We do commissioned work with professional Aboriginal artists. For example, our kids have danced with Mitch Tambo, been on his music film clip Dream Time Princess, sorry. They've also danced with Isaiah Firebrace, Kobe D and Anala Newman, and King Stingray.
So the Brolga is a little bird, isn't it? And that's
correct.
And that's really how does that relate to the culture and the academy?
Yeah, so the Brolga bird is an iconic bird that is iconic to a lot of nations across the nation. For me in particular, the Brolga bird for people is the law holder and the creator of song and dance. So back in the many years ago, our ancestors sent the Brolga bird down to a nice little town called Gaduga, where I'm from, and he told the Brolga bird in order to teach our kids our law, our customs, our culture, our practices, songs and dance, that it had to be done through song and dance. So that's the reason why we're called Brolga Dance Academy, because the Brolga is the law holder and the creator of song and dance for my people.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. That's really, really inspiring to hear about all that, because we need to be connected with nature.
Yes, 100%. And all of our dances that we create, we do our traditional dances that have been passed down from generation to generation, but with the contemporary to actually create modern stories and for our young people. So we still do storytelling in the sense of our connection to country, our connection to culture, our connection to healing, but we do modern stories for our young people where they're talking about their life experiences and they're able to culturally express and creatively express their own stories through dance and song as well.
And Redfern is an iconic place. It's a beautiful place there. So much activism going on there too.
100%. And I was so fortunate to actually grow up and be surrounded by so many strong leaders. I don't know if you've seen the NAIDOC Awards, but Auntie Millie Ingram and Auntie Dulcie Flower, they're both from the Redfern community.
Yep.
And Auntie Millie Ingram is a great auntie and elder to me, and so is Auntie Dulcie Flower. Auntie Dulcie Flower was a part of the AMS, bringing up the first Aboriginal medical service. Auntie Millie Ingram, she was Wayanga Aged Care, part of that. She was a part of she was a young girl in the 1967 referendum picture. If you look at the picture, there's a young girl in the front. That was Auntie Millie Ingram. And
wow,
so
the 1967 referendum.
Yes. So I'm very fortunate to have been grown up and mentored by some really strong black and powerful young women, but also male mentors as well and leaders.
Yeah, I mean, the 1967 referendum was an important landmark.
Oh, 100%.
Jodie, it's
there's
been
so
so
many
wonderful
different
to have you. Are there any other things you want to talk about in terms of any events coming up in NAIDOC with the dance?
Oh, yeah. Well, tomorrow we're performing for the South Cares, which is South Sydney Rabbitohs. We're doing their NAIDOC event. But our events are all different levels, and all, like from community to corporate to high end. So we've got the South tomorrow. We're doing an event for the NAIDOC, which is our local community. All the community Aboriginal organisations have come together to put on a NAIDOC event for the Redfern community. So we're doing that on Friday as well as at Defence with the Army Defence. So we're doing a gig there. We're doing a gig at the Sydney Town Hall, which is the City Sydney NAIDOC. And then straight off the back of that, we're pretty busy. We're hitting the town. We're hitting the road, and we're going out to Gunnedah, Bree, and Burke. We're going on tour for a week. So I'm taking a lot of the teenage Brolga kids, and we're going out on tour. We're presenting our songs and dances with them, but we're also sharing with the community and teaching them some dances, and they'll come on and be a part of our show that we give back to community.
That is amazing. And where can people find that on the website?
Oh, you can find, you can go to our website, which is just brolgadanceacademy.com.au, or you can follow us on all of our social media pages. We're pretty up there. We've got YouTube channels, we've got TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. We're on it all. We've got to keep up to date with these young ones, because we represent the young ones.
That is so awesome. And Jodie, thanks a lot too for mentioning some of the female Aboriginal leaders. Can you mention those leaders again so that we can honour them?
Yes, that was Auntie Millie Ingram, who is the NAIDOC Aboriginal Elder of the Year, and Auntie Dulcie Flower, who is the Lifetime Achievement Award. She won the Lifetime Achievement Award. I also would love to acknowledge and mention my Auntie Kerry Welsh, who's now passed away and crossed over to the Dream Time, and she was an amazing advocate and role model for myself as well as my grandfather and my nan, who they too created so much strong stuff within the community. My nan was the first woman to open the PCYC in Gunnedah many years ago as well. So I think that's where I draw my strength from, my courage from, and my wisdom. So we always have to acknowledge and pay tribute to those that have passed on and those that have taught us along the way.
Absolutely. Oh, Jodie, it's been a delight to have you on the show. May I actually call upon you again in the next couple of weeks to talk more about your dance?
You can. I'm hope if it's between the 13th to the 20th of July, we may be in and out of reception because that's when we're going regional news.
No, that's okay. Even in August or September, we can wait until all that's over.
We've got a lot going on there too. Yeah, give us a call and we can do a recap and a follow-up.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Jodie, and enjoy all the performances.
Thanks for having us. Thank you. Happy NAIDOC, everyone, and thanks for listening in. I hope you have a deadly one.
Deadly. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Keep that.
So it's up to us, the people. We need a treaty in this country. We need the end to the war in this country. And the only way we can do that is through a peace treaty. Not the one you see in Victoria, not the one you see in Queensland, not the one you see in the Northern Territory, because they talk treaty and still lock our people up. They still kill our people. They still desecrate our land and our water. A treaty means peace. A treaty means equality. And a treaty means justice. Thank you.
You're listening to Radical Radio on 3CR, 855 on your AM dial, 3CR digital, and podcasting and streaming on 3cr.org.au.
Rediscover the Queen Victoria Women's Centre when they open their doors as part of Melbourne Open House 2024. Over 2 days, on Saturday the 27th of July and Sunday the 28th, there will be a program of activities. Immerse yourself in the fascinating history of the iconic Queen Victoria Women's Centre building on Lonsdale Street. The program includes a talk with the Queen Victoria Women's Centre Feminist Historian in Residence, Barbara Wheeler, an artist talk and exhibition with Ruth Madison, and a First Nations-led weaving workshop and more. Visit qvwc.org.au for full program and all the details. Queen Victoria Women's Centre is a 3CR supporter.
And it's 4:40, and I want to welcome Leanne, who is a senior cultural advisor and advocate, and she's from Bendigo, and I'm going to let her talk about what land she's on in a second. The beautiful Carly actually organised Leanne to talk about NAIDOC Week and all sorts of other stuff. Hello, Leanne, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Really lovely to have you. Could you just tell us what land you're from and also what organisation you're from as well?
Yep. So I'm a Gunditjmara woman, so my people are from southwest Victoria, but I live and work on Jarrah country, and I work at the Bendigo and District Aboriginal Cooperative.
Beautiful, Leanne. Now, I'm wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about NAIDOC Week, and happy NAIDOC Week, by the way,
Oh, thank you.
and tell us a little bit about what's happening with NAIDOC and your thoughts.
So NAIDOC Week is a really important week for us as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. It's where we get to celebrate loud and proud across the country our culture and our, ensuring that the wider community have abilities to take part in some of our celebrations as well. So this year's theme is Keep the Fire Burning, Black, Loud and Proud, which is really a call to our people to make sure that we continue to stand up, be resilient and continue to be black, loud and proud in terms of our identity, being strong in our cultural connections and being connected as a community.
Beautiful. And I invited you onto the show really because I just think it's really important to cover regional as well as the city for NAIDOC. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of our regional centres have got lots and lots of events. I know some of our communities in Victoria, throughout Victoria, have a whole month of programs of NAIDOC events. We've got 2 weeks. Our calendar is like full for the next 2 weeks. So we've got a huge different variety of events for our community specifically and then some events for the wider community to also join in with us.
So it goes from the 7th to the 14th of July. Can you just tell us a few events that are happening?
Yeah, so last week we kicked off with our, we've had already a youth disco for our community here locally. And Friday just gone, we've had our flag-raising ceremony at BDAC, so the Bendigo and District Aboriginal Cooperative, which over 250 people attended, which is an incredible event. We had some beautiful weather, unlike today where it's really raining. We had the sunshine was out on Friday, and we had we gave out youth awards, so different categories for youth awards. There was sports person and academic awards. We also recognised some long-standing, valued staff members at BDAC that had given service for 10 and 15 years equally. And then Friday night we had our gala ball. So there was over 500 people at the All Seasons complex here, and we had a really great night of celebration with stakeholders, our community, and many of the BDAC staff.
Good on you, Leanne. And what are some of your thoughts on NAIDOC Week? What do you think it represents to you?
NAIDOC Week is the most exciting week of the year for me, personally. I really, really enjoy NAIDOC Week. I always have. I was a member of the Bendigo NAIDOC committee for over 20 years. I've stepped away from that at the moment because my role's quite busy, so I'm doing many other things. But NAIDOC Week is a really special time for us to come together as a community, to be strong in our identity and our culture, and be able to see that really visible in the wider community. So when, like at shopping centres now, we've got NAIDOC displays, we've got NAIDOC posters being displayed, and the wider community are really embracing what NAIDOC Week means for us as well as for them.
Fantastic, fantastic. And what about growing up? Where did you grow up, Leanne?
I grew up in Melbourne. We moved to Bendigo when I was about 11 or 12. So it's funny you say that, because I was speaking to one of our community members today, and we were reflecting on the celebrations that NAIDOC Week is now. And I said growing up, NAIDOC Week for us was, when I was quite young, was marching in protest to be recognised, to be visible, and to remind society that Aboriginal people have got so much to offer. So it's changed a lot from what it was, and it's really great to see, like some of the organisations that really embrace and support our community in terms of this week being so important to us.
Fantastic, fantastic. And are you a member of the Stolen Generation?
No, I'm not. No,
not everybody is.
No. So I'm very fortunate. I've always known exactly who my people are, what country I'm connected to, and I've always been strongly connected to my traditional area and to my family. So I'm very fortunate in that, and not something that I take for granted. I'm very conscious of the knowledge that I continue to carry that's been passed down to me through through my family. So yeah, I'm very fortunate.
Of course. And Leanne, I've actually invited quite a diverse number of First Nations guests and community members onto this show, and everybody has a different experience. And we all need to honour and respect each other and have unity, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And just like the wider community, who also have, very different experiences in life, and so do we. And so, if we think about leading up to the referendum, there was a lot of controversy, I suppose, throughout media and social media around Aboriginal people being divided in our opinions of what that meant. And that's because we are free-thinking individuals who have different experiences in life and come from, different traditional, I suppose, beliefs. So, that should just be acknowledged, that just like everyone else, we all have our own opinions and thoughts,
Leanne, thank you so much for coming onto the program, and please enjoy the rest of NAIDOC Week.
No worries. I'm sorry, I didn't even cover all of the other events, but we have got lots of events.
There's a couple more minutes. Go ahead.
So we've got a huge big family day that we have every year in Badak now. It's become like one of our ongoing events, where we have close to about 2,500 people attend, with lots of activities, all undercover because of the weather during winter in Victoria, but lots and lots of events for families, cultural events and rides and all sorts of activities and food and things for our community and also for the wider community. So there's lots of different events happening throughout the week, and continuing on through next week with a whole range of art exhibitions and all sorts of things.
Where are the art exhibitions?
There's one at Dudley House, which is in View Street. There's one at St John of God Hospital, which is here in Bendigo, and then there's a couple down the street that are actually on the front of buildings where some people have done some artwork, and that's on display.
Wonderful. And which ones do you think you'll go to, Leanne?
I actually haven't gone through the program to have a look yet. I'm just sort of deciding day by day.
Absolutely.
How it's going. So I'm going to try my hardest to get along to a majority of the events that we've got on.
Beautiful. Happy NAIDOC Week, Leanne.
Thanks so much.
Okay, and we'll thank you very much for coming on.
No worries. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Public transport's great.
What's not great is that unless you've got a radio with you, you can't listen to 3CR when you're on it.
Until now, the Community Radio Plus app lets you listen to us wherever you are.
Get on board and search Community Radio Plus wherever you get your apps.
Time's on my mind when I had you by my side. Am I thinking loud? Do I want you around?
Do you have a fine you're worried about? If you are struggling to pay a fine, there can be ways to help you deal with it. You may be able to get your fine lifted or reduced where you are experiencing difficult life circumstances such as family violence, mental health challenges, disability, homelessness, or drug or alcohol dependency. If you have fines from not paying toll roads, you may also be able to get the fine waived if you're experiencing financial or other hardship. Speak to a community lawyer or financial counsellor to get advice on your options. You can find your local community centre on the Federation of Community Legal Centres website, fclc.org.au. You can find a financial counsellor by calling the National Debt Helpline on 1800 007 007. The Federation of Community Legal Centres is a 3CR supporter.
Consumer law touches on many aspects of what we do every day. Consumer Action Law Centre has lawyers, financial counsellors and policy experts who specialise in issues such as unfair contract terms and deceptive or dodgy business practices, like excessive pricing or irresponsible lending. Consumer Action Law Centre provides free legal information and advice and pursues litigation on behalf of consumers experiencing disadvantage across Victoria. Consumer Action Law Centre currently focuses on getting justice for people who have been sold lemon cars, ripped off by insurance companies, scammed and denied help from their bank, or refused hardship concessions from telecommunications and energy companies. Find out how Consumer Action Law Centre can help you at consumeraction.org.au. The Federation of Community Legal Centres is a 3CR supporter.
And it's 4:51 and we're nearing the end of our show now. This is the Doin Time show. And I wanted to thank all our guests for participating in the special broadcasting of NAIDOC Week today. And please don't forget also to listen in to the prison broadcasts that are coming up this week, or that have already aired this week, and there are more coming. And these are, and that's Beyond the Bars, that are First Nations people from prisons broadcasting as well with NAIDOC Week. And thank you very much to Karen from the Black People's Union for coming onto the show, and also Jody from Redfern Brolga Dance Academy, and to Leanne as well, and also there's another guest here that I've had a mental block here. Anyway, thank you to all our guests for coming onto the show. Terribly important for that to happen. It's approximately 4:53, and we're going to be going out pretty soon with our theme song, Black Fella, White Fella from the Rumpy Band. And stay tuned every Monday from 4 to 5 for the Doin Time show. Oh, Bo Spearham, that's right. How could I forget him? Yeah, Bo has been on our show for quite extensive periods of time, talking about massacres, Aboriginal massacres and other issues, and he really did give a very, very interesting commentary about the history of NAIDOC Week, as did Kieran. And also it was so wonderful to listen to Jody as well, speaking about strong Aboriginal female leaders that have given her strength and inspiration and mentorship. And it's so important to be able to interview a whole range of community members and activists to talk about NAIDOC Week and what's important to them. The Doin Time show is a safe space for people to come in and talk about what concerns them. So thank you for the yarn, everybody, today. And it's approximately 4:54. We're going to be going out now pretty soon with our theme song, Black Fella, White Fella by the Rumpy Band. It was actually a really crazy day for me. I had so much trouble getting interviews, and I was able to organise everybody today all in one day. So keep the fires burning and stay proud, loud and black. And I probably said it in the wrong order, but I think people know what I mean. And I'm delirious. And stay tuned every Monday, 4 to 5 for the Doin Time show. And I'll be back next week. Okay, bye.
You've been listening to a 3CR podcast. If you found it valuable, please consider donating or subscribing to support independent community radio. To find out more, go to 3cr.org.au.